It's Hot 937, hot937.com, Hartford's #1 for hip-hop and R&B. This is The Beat of CT. I'm Erica Lynn, and today I have a special guest in the building with me, 30 years in business, LEBERT G. Lester. He's the owner of It's a G Thing Barbershop and Salon out in Hartford. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Erica? Thank you for having me.
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know, I should have said he's a man of all trades because he is an entrepreneur. He's an esthetician. He sells tailored suits. He walks around with a measuring tape. Anything that you need, I'm telling you, this man knows where to get it or how to get it. So it's such a pleasure to have him here on the show. He's an inspiration to so many, such a game changer in the city of Hartford. He was born and raised in Hartford, grew up there. And you want to tell us a little bit about your background or...
Well, basically, I found a clipper in the garbage can at 13 years old. I was walking down Main Street, and my dad, he always fixed stuff. Mm-hmm. And in him fixing things, he would splice the cords and repair them. So what I did was I did the same thing with a clipper. And so my mother's called me and sent me, I went and put some lard on it because I could feel the power, but the blade wasn't moving. So I put lard on it. I don't know if you guys know what lard is because lard makes me an old man if people who don't know what lard is, but I put lard on it.
No way.
The clipper got hot, and when I returned, it was dancing around in the sink. And when it was dancing around in the sink, I cleaned it off, and I stuck it in my hair, cut a plug of my hair out, and I just tried to fix it. I bald my head, and that's when I started.
And you said you were 13?
Yeah, I was 13 then.
At that time? Were your parents upset that you balded your head?
No, well, my dad, he had just had a conversation because the community was changing, and they were bringing, drugs were coming into the community, and he was concerned because they had kids riding their bike to different locations. They would give you $10, go from this project to that project. Mm-hmm. So my dad, he had a conversation. We talked about that, and I said, no, I wouldn't do any of those things. And so then he came, and I had on a hat because I had messed my head up. And so he took the hat off and he said, where y'all do it the haircut? Where you get the haircut? Where you get money from? And so I'm trying to explain to him that I cut it myself. So he just basically said, cut the rest of my brothers. And so I showed him, messed everybody up.
Oh, wow.
And Miss Birdie, my man Brian, his mother, Miss Birdie, she really got me going because she had me cutting. She worked at Clark Street School. And one day she had me come over there and I cut a whole bunch of kids. I got $2 a head. And I just messed up all these little kids, but they weren't getting haircuts and she was concerned about them. Mm-hmm. So she said, you come up and cut them. And she told the mothers to just send $2. I cut all of them. And then that was my thing. I'm running into the school. Miss Birdie, every month, cutting hair.
Yeah, making your $2 a head.
Yeah, and then I started cutting in the community. And then I noticed, guys were going to the barbershop, and I wasn't that good. So I came up with a plan because I've always been a businessman. And I came up with a plan. I said, haircuts were $10. Mm-hmm. I tell them, you keep $5, give me $5. So now everybody said that she would pay you $5 to cut your hair, but I wasn't paying them $5. Their parents were giving them $10 to go to the barbershop. I was balding their head for $5, and they could keep $5. And so at the time, $5 was a lot of money.
A big deal, yeah.
Because, we had penny candies. You get a quarter, you get 25 penny candies, man. That'll last you 2-3 weeks if you're not greedy. And so to have $5, it was like, hitting a lot.
A big deal. Mm-hmm.
And after that, I just kept going. I kept pushing, with the haircuts and, cut through college, everything, and then I just kept cutting.
That was smart, a true hustler. So you taught yourself.
No. I was cutting. Then I went to Prince Tech. They put me in electrical. I had the math scores and everything. Mm-hmm. They put me in electrical. I had a fight with an individual. I didn't like the names he was calling me, so he went in the bathroom, and I was on the boxing team too. We did the martial arts. We did, I did a lot of training, so I never got to use any of that. And this guy was calling me names, and, my dad told me, ignore him and all of that, but if he get in my face, don't let him hurt me. So he went in the bathroom. I slipped in the bathroom, and I said, now, what you was saying? And I punched him in the nose, and his nose started running some red stuff out. I stuck his head in
Not
the
the
toilet.
red stuff.
Yeah, the red stuff. I stuck his head in the toilet. And he had long hair, the long blonde hair. So when I put him in the toilet, with the red stuff in the toilet, it just looked bad. When the teachers came in, he came up out of the toilet, and his hair it wasn't as bad as it looked. But, you know, it looked bad. They kicked me out of electrical, and they put me in barbering as punishment. And that was
As punishment?
Yeah, because barbering wasn't a shop that anybody wanted. There was no line to get in the barbershop. You know, it was training. So, you know, you had auto mechanics, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, you know, drafting, just, you know, a lot of different trades where people could, you know, make a way for themselves. So they put me out. So I'm in barbering, and they would say, oh, well, we'll let you back in. But I went in oil heat. Oil heat was stinky and dirty, and I don't like to be dirty. I don't want to be stinky. I don't like my nails dirty. I like to be
clean cut.
Yeah. So oil heat's not. They would tell me how much you can make, and I'm like, man, you must smell like that. No. And so when we graduated from high school, everybody had jobs, and we were going to Mr. Taylor's barbershop on Albany Ave. And I'm like, man, this ain't no job. Mr. Taylor, barber, you know, nice guy. You know, I still remember Mr. Taylor. He had the white hair. I was down there maybe 3 or 4 days, and I ain't doing this. I quit. I quit. But every time I needed money, I had to, I was cutting hair to get money. And so when I went off, got the scholarship, I went to Morehouse. I was leaving my clippers, but my mother packed my clippers in the trunk because I didn't want to bring them because I said I ain't cutting no hair. And then when I got to campus, it was just real cool. Everybody wanted a haircut.
Yes.
And so I'm in the Atlanta University Center. We're probably talking about 20,000 students.
Wow.
And I was making a killing. I made enough money to where me and the RD and I had a disagreement. I went and got an apartment.
Wow.
I went and got an apartment because that's how much hair I was cutting. And, you know, eventually then, our family friend from Jamaica, Jack's Barbershop, my boy Bob, my dad put me in there. And so I'm in there. And, you know, so I'm study for the MCAT, go to med school, do all of these things. And I'm in there cutting. I'm looking, all my friends coming in the barbershop. Yo, G, what's up, man? What you doing in here? Yo, remember you used to cut me? But now I'm good.
Right.
I'm not the mess up guy. And so then I just started building, and then, you know, I just started cutting.
From there.
Yeah, it grew from there. And then I realized, like, the independent, my wife and I, we could, anytime I wanted to do something, I could just go in the barbershop, make money. You know, you gotta just sit there. Mm-hmm. And once you establish yourself, like a lot of barbers, I tell any guy that's in barbering, if you're right now somewhat pessimistic about your career in barbering, you got to give it time. You got to plant yourself.
Right.
Stop being nomadic. My success came from the only barbershop, after I left Mr. Taylor's barbershop, the only barbershop I was in other than my own was Jack's Barbershop. And I stayed there with Bob. Bob inherited the barbershop from his dad. Mm-hmm. And, you know, me, Bob, Carlton, and my man King Gordon, you know, we're in the barbershop. And then you just start looking. It just becomes family. And then you become a part of the community. You have the young women bringing little boys. Those same little boys right now bring their sons to me.
To your shop.
And, you know.
I believe it.
And it's like, you know, I'm their barber. This is their barbershop. And, you know, every barbershop begets a barbershop. And, you know, I was talking to a guy out of Philly, and he was upset because a couple of his barbers had left and they got a barbershop. And I met him on Instagram. I really didn't know him, but I met him when I was in Maryland, too. And so I said to him, I said, always remember, every barber goes into barbering with the dream of owning a barbershop. Mm-hmm. And with that dream, eventually it materializes. So every barbershop begets a barbershop. So when you look at it, you have to understand that you're a feeding ground. You're a conduit for the continuation of a business.
Absolutely.
That's 45,000, you know, years before Christ, barbering was there.
And passing the baton.
And
so even in your 30 years.
Exactly.
How many barbers do you think that you've affected or, you know, mentored and groomed, and they've gone off and opened their own shops? Or
I had a young man came into the salon on Saturday. He got a color. So I turned his hair silver, and he was like, oh, man, this is tight. He said, man, I ain't know barbers can do this. I said, yeah. I said, barbers are not tapping into the art of barbering. Because if you follow me on Instagram, I'm the real barber surgeon. And when you talk about the real barber surgeon, I'm actually doing what would be considered surgical procedures in the barbershop. But the only thing I'm doing, I'm just doing extractions, taking out a razor bump, things of that nature. And reversing a condition that can be handled in the barbershop if the barbers would read the whole book. Because the barbering book is a medical book because the barbers were the doctors. If you go back to World War I, they took the barbers to the war. They didn't take no medical doctors. The medical doctors came in the 30s and jumped on the barbers because in Dr. Walter Douglas Bristol, the University of Mississippi, in his book, The Knights of the Razor, he talks about the black barber and the wealth of the black barber and how the black barber who came from slavery, they were medicine men. The barbers who did the barbering back in the 1800s, they were medicine men going out finding roots, finding herbs, healing the clients. And so barbering is so great. I mean, there's a plethora of things that you can do in the art of barbering. If you're willing to dig deep into the history of it, I recommend every barber purchase that book, The Knights of the Razor, by Dr. Walter Douglas Bristol. I don't get no promotions. I don't get any money. But in that book is the map of what you're looking for. You understand?
Yeah.
And now if you go in the book and you can't get it, you come see me, the real barber surgeon, because I teach brothers, from a booth renter to a barbershop owner. Beyond hair removal, shaving with purpose, the tonsorial sciences, how do you formulate your own products? All of these things I'm teaching because one thing, my man Jack is Bob's father from Kingston. Jack made everything, and his son used to laugh at him. When I came with him, Jack was old, Jack passed on, and, they talked about all of these mason jars that he had with all of this kind of stuff in there. But what he didn't realize, now I'm a young boy, I'm the kid barber. I can't cut regular people. They just got me in there. My pops hooked me up, got me in the barbershop. And he didn't notice the fury of people coming, looking for what his father had left behind because they knew that art of barbering had just died with Jack Gopi. You understand? So there was nobody to do those things. So I'm in the barbershop, he got a whole bunch of papers. I'm looking at him, and Bob like, man, throw all that stuff in the garbage. And basically what I did, I just took a lot of the stuff he said throw away, and I just kept it. It wasn't the most articulate. It wasn't well written. But being a Jamaican, you can interpret it. I'm looking. And then what I started to do, like now, I study herbs. I study herbs,
and it's important, for sure.
It's important.
Your entire journey is inspiring, and thank you for sharing everything. I know you have a training coming up for the kids.
Yes.
And one of your barbers, as I was looking through your videos, is as young as 11 years old. Incredible. Yeah. He's cutting hair, and the clients in the chairs, they're just comfortable, and he's focused, cutting. How did that start? Having people as young as 11 or 13 or 15? Well,
it would go back. I have to talk about my little soldier, Mook Vidal Robinson. Mook came to me when he was 11. And Mook is a master barber, stylist, and everything. He's in Windsor at, what the heck is his name? Mook and Mose. But he in Windsor. Everybody know Mook. But he was my first little soldier. Mook was with me, man. He stayed with me from he was 11 into his 20s. Now
so do they just walk in the barbershop and say, hey, G, I want to learn to cut? No,
they want to sweep up. They want to sweep up, and that's what Mook did. Mook started sweeping, and then he moved on. He was doing a register. He was helping out. And so with Zakai, now after Mook, I just do it. And so Zakai was our little sweep up man and all of those things. And so now he would be watching, and if I see them showing an interest, I just bring them in. I'll bring them in and teach them.
Yeah.
Because in that book, The Knights of the Razor, it talks about, how barbering has been an outlet because Alfonso Herndon, he was a millionaire in the 20s. He was a millionaire in the 20s. And during the Great Depression came and hit, he purchased the Atlanta Life Insurance Company with money that he made from barbering. And because the clientele that he had at the time, 100 years ago, the black man couldn't come in the barbershop. So only white guys could get a haircut in the barbershop. They would have to get cut behind the barbershop or what have you. But the barber was always privy to information that was going on. So when the Atlanta Life Insurance Company was going out, the Alonzo Herndon overheard him and went and purchased it. And they laughed because they was like, yeah, he was stupid because he's buying a company that's going out of business. But at the time, there was no business insurance company that was insuring black people. So what Alonzo Herndon, he wasn't buying a company, he was buying a bond. And by him being a barber, the barber put him in a position where he could be amongst information that he would have never been privy to had he not been a barber. And, so when I think about, I used to cut Governor Rowland's hair. And, Governor Rowland, he was cool. That's my man. But you would get to hear a barber is always in the room. Like when I'm cutting Mike Tyson, I met Donald Trump at Tyson's house in the kitchen cutting Mike Tyson. You understand? Donald Trump trying to get him he was fighting Holyfield. He was trying to move the fight to Jersey. I guess he was going out of business. We didn't know it then. But he was going through whatever. So barbering has put me in a position to where, I've done so much. I mean,
right. You just meet so many different people along so many different playing fields.
Right.
I mean, with barbers and beauticians, that's a profession where people they're always going to want to look good.
Always want to look
good. You feel good, know, and you're just able to be in different arenas or in different spaces with so many different people, and that's an amazing thing. And being able to mentor someone and to doing something positive and constructive, with their lives and staying on a straight path is a really important thing too. I've seen the stories where maybe guys have been in the streets and things like that, and you're teaching them a different hustle.
What I do is, because hustle has always been something positive. It's in the last 20 years that hustle has gotten a negative connotation to where people see hustling as something negative. Because, we're hustling. People hustle. You got to hustle to get to work. And what I do is I teach, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches do for self. And so when you're talking about do for self, I took from that and I do what I call the monetization of self. The monetization of self is the only way to wealth. And people hire you because they see value in you that you don't see in yourself.
There you go.
And so I tell people all the time, you have to step back. You have to do an interview, not interview, but interview of self. Write down the qualities of what you have. See that which you can monetize and begin to lay a foundation upon which you can stand for yourself financially such that you don't need anyone to sustain you. So now what you start doing is, when I talk about the power of the P's, packaging, positioning, partnering. Who are your partners? Who are your partners? Every time a guy sees me in a suit, see my alligator shoes, say, oh man, you looking sharp, and I say to him, I can help you out, do his measurements, he becomes a partner of mine. Because now he becomes an economic resource to where I'm going to be able to give him a custom suit, custom shoes for half of what someone else would give it to him. The only thing is he has to realize there ain't going to be no name in it, but he going to look good.
He's going to look sharp.
He going to look sharp. And that's why I came up with the little slogan where I said, no name, just fly. Because people always, man, what is that you got on? What are you wearing? And I say, no name, just fly.
Just fly.
You understand? And so everything that you want in this life, you can get it if you position yourself.
That's a fact.
If
you think it, you can see it, it's going to manifest. You have to believe it.
Yeah, you got to believe it. My facility now is 15,000 square feet. I got it from a city auction back in 2003. And I remember the naysayers like, oh, you're going to need $1 million to do that. And, there was just no encouragement. And a lot of people said, You're gonna need that money, and it was a tough deal, but I put the money together.
Right.
I put the money together, made the deal happen, and now when people saw that it was gonna happen, they backed off from, how you're gonna get to money to saying, why would you put that amount of money in this neighborhood? You're never gonna be able to get your money back.
And that sounds crazy.
Yeah, but the thing is, I never invested the money in that part of the city with the intention on getting the money back.
Right. You wanted to give back.
Right.
To the city.
It took me 3.5 years to build that place. I mean, I've been through contractors. I mean, it was just a fight because I wasn't a builder. I wasn't a builder, but I like to read. So I'll get in a situation that night, boom, and then we didn't have the internet the way we have it now. So I got to run to a library. I had Borders and Barnes and Noble, but Border was my number one. And then I think I was still doing B. Dalton's bookstore downtown. I got books for days, and I'm always reading. If you and I were to have a conversation and you spoke about something that I didn't have knowledge on, I put a note in my phone, and the next time I saw you, I would make sure that I'm going to be a scholar on that. And so I'm constantly evolving and teaching myself. So a lot of people, like there was a lady who came into the salon, and she said, oh, my God, G, you know something about everything, because her son calls me. He calls me. And, I help him out. And she was like, yeah, every time he called you, he said you got the answer. I said, no, I tell him I study. I tell him I study.
Important.
So,
knowledge is power, that's for sure,
yeah, so
without a doubt.
If you want to be successful, you have to make that decision. When it took 3.5 years to build a facility, I got all of the gratification out of that property when one of the little kids, they were tearing down Nelton Court, and the little soldier, he came and he said, Mr. G, we moving. Like he was disappointed. But, they tore down Nelton Court. So I guess his mom got some kind of housing. He was like, because he would come, he's sweeping up and everything. And he went in, he walked around, and he saw it. And if you would have seen his eyes, and he said to me, I told him you could do it. I told him, he was telling me what all of the naysayers have been saying over that 3.5 year period that it took me to build it. Because it was supposed to take 6 months, but I had a lot of struggles with people, and it was just tough. But when I heard him say, I knew you can do it, he said, when I get big, I'm going to build something too. And I said to him, I said, man, where you going? He said, oh, we going to Naugatuck. And he said, that's too far from the barbershop, because they had already moved the stuff. And I said, all right, man. I said, well, listen. I said, if you're in the area, you come see me. He said, all right.
Keep in touch.
Keep in touch. I haven't seen them. They moved away. And, I think about them all the time. And so I don't have to remember their names. I just call them all my little soldiers. Because when I would call them by their name, because like I have young men right now who they look at Mook, and they said that I favored Mook over them because they used to all come together. But one thing, Mook was consistent. Mook would always be there. Every day he would come. And the rest of them will only come just to get money. And Mook would come, stay out of trouble, and I mean, it's barbering is phenomenal. And many of the guys in our community are outside of the economic circle. A lady called me from a state agency. I don't know the exact agency, but she said she had 3 17-year-olds and 2 16-year-olds. They're out of New Haven, and they've been getting in trouble. I said, well, I can take them under my tutelage. And I said, you give me 12 months with them. You give me 12 months with them. And I said, I'm going to show you something different.
And turn their lives around.
Change the whole trajectory.
I love that. No, keep it up for sure. And the training that you have that's coming up.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what is the process like for the young people or young guys that want to get involved in it?
Right now, I got to pay the fee to renew my certificate. But what we're going to do is I meet with the guys and see who wants to be a barber. See if we could source some money, because as you saw when I was on the Fox News, they were talking about we haven't really been getting funding. No one's, they don't invest in the program, and a lot of times, I'm independent, and I don't have, like financial aid and things of that nature. And like all of those guys you saw in them videos, I train them for free. I train them for free. I would like to receive, because if I was getting paid to train them, and if I had a good class of a dozen guys and they were paid for, I could turn that whole neighborhood around.
Right. You'd have like the resources
and
things that you need.
And I could turn the whole city, because right now, my facility on Main Street, I'm going to turn it strictly into just training. And my goal is, I have 40 chairs there. I want to get 40 young men, 40 young individuals who want to learn, who want to change their lives, who want to learn the art of barber and the art of hair. And then once I graduate that 40, begin to really grow, begin to really solidify my position in barbering, but help them in the interim, like go around to barbers who I would be what I consider an anchor. These guys, they have a strong clientele, but they stuck. They want to get their own barbershop, but they just can't seem to package themselves up to be able to get the barbershop. So what I would like to do is get a paid-for class, 30, 40 young men, and then go around, identify barbers the term I use, I call them anchors. And an anchor is a weight that's on a ship that sturdies that ship during a storm.
Definitely.
The storm gets too rough, you drop the anchor, everybody get low, and you just weather the storm. So these guys are anchors, and I want to take them and help them to realize their dream of becoming owners, and then franchise. It's a G thing, because we have a strong name.
Definitely.
We have a strong name. We've been in it.
It's a staple in Hartford,
right,
for sure.
We go years ago when I was buying BET. BET, the commercial for BET, when Bob Johnson had it initially, it was running on BET. So everybody they were calling from Louisiana, from the West Coast, and they were looking for the barbershop. Phone just ringing. And, I'm like, where you at? I'm in Miami, man. Yo, I'm down here.
They want to get a cut.
And I was like, yo, it's a commercial? And I was young then. And that was an opportunity that I missed, because the commercial because no one barbershops didn't have a TV commercial. I put up billboards. We were running radio. We were doing the radio. We used to do 10,000 flyers a month, my team and I. We would get out and push. And if I had been seasoned the way I am now, all I had to do was go into that city, find an anchor, set up It's a G thing, and I could have been national overnight. So I missed an opportunity, because
you can still do it.
No, but now when you buy television, they got it sectioned off. So it's not like before that one commercial was running
in different regions.
In different regions. Because Bob Johnson, he was new with BET, so he was kind of teetering along, finding his way. That's why when Viacom purchased him, that's why you saw the value increase so rapidly. Because what they did was they 10x'd the revenue by zoning the areas, whereas Bob Johnson was just running BET. So,
no, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so, I'm studying. I see my man Tyler Perry. I'm like, man, I got to get moving.
Get on Tyler Perry's wave.
Gotta get
For sure.
moving.
And the training's going to take place right at the barbershop,
right
2404 Main Street in Hartford.
2404 Main Street. And, basically all I'm doing, I'm looking for some interested individuals, because as I told you off the air, I'm independent. I'm, like you said, I sell suits. I sell everything. I make my own products. I'm a wholesaler. I sell products to barbershops. I make stuff for them.
And hair care products.
Yeah.
Well,
yep. So it's a lot of stuff. So basically what I do is I just push. So when it comes like time to start a class, I just need individuals who are interested. They gotta come see us. Follow me on Instagram at The Real Barber Surgeon, the It's a G Thing page. Just DM me, say you want to learn. And then we'll find a way to make it happen.